Welcome back to my video series on the Zing 300 Pro thermal printer. He's gonna get in the way. Right, so what we're gonna do now is get it all set up on a Mac. I'm gonna make another video for Windows. It's slightly different, but for the most part, the steps are pretty much the same. So we've got the drivers on the disk. Hi guy, come on you. We've got the drivers on the disk. But this laptop doesn't have a disk drive. A lot of laptops don't. So you can get yourself one of these. They're relatively cheap. And in fact, I include a link in the description for one of these. It's an external CD drive. And it just plugs in via a USB cable. You put the disk in and you can unplug it and put it away when it's not in use. It's really convenient and works with pretty much any computer, Windows or Mac. But if you've got access to the internet, why not go directly to the Zing website and download it fresh? So, you know, you've got the latest version, whatever version was put on this disk, it's fixed like that. So you can get the latest version of the drivers directly from the website. The website you want to go to is zingprinters.com. And nice animations on the website. I think that's their previous model. And you want to click on download driver. And it'll give you then the two options. Zing driver for Windows, Zing driver for Mac. I'm going to be working on a video where you can make this wireless. So not only then will it work with other computers on your Wi-Fi network, but it can also be controlled from an Android or iOS device. I'm going to show you how to set that up in another video. So let's download the Zing driver for Mac, and in another video we'll do it for Windows as well. If you're using a Windows computer, make sure you're subscribed. That way you'll get a notification once I've released a video showing you how to do these steps on a Windows machine. So as you can see, the Mac driver has finished downloading as a zip file, and let's click on it. So it looks like nothing's happened at first, but as you can see, it's actually extracted the driver into our downloads folder. I believe the Zing printers used to be called Rollo printers, and that's why it's showing up as a Rollo printer here. So it's safe to double click this DMG file, which will show us the driver. First of all, it verifies the package, and we'll see a new icon here, which represents the DMG that we just opened. And because we've just opened the DMG, the window opens automatically. And here you can see some instructions and the driver package itself. So let's open the driver package. Now sometimes you'll get an error like this with Mac OS X. At first it doesn't look like there's a way to proceed, but it's actually easier to fix than you think. So for now, press OK, and at the top left we click the Apple icon and go to System Preferences. And then we go to Security and Privacy. And the operating system will detect that it's recently declined an application to open. We can see here Rollo printer was blocked from opening because it was not from an identified developer. Well, we know that we definitely downloaded it from the Zing website, so we can safely click open anyway. And now the same message as before comes up, but except we have the open button. And now we can safely close System Preferences or the Security and Privacy panel. We can also close this since we know that the driver has begun installing. It's quite simple, you just keep pressing continue or next. The default install location is usually correct. And here the system asks you to confirm your username and password that you use to log into on your Mac OS X device. This gives the install package permission to add drivers to your computer's hard drive. Once the driver has finished installing, we can safely delete the file that we downloaded. Now the file is in the recycle bin at the moment, but we can't empty it because the DMG is still mounted. So we can just drag this to the bin to unmount the driver package. And once the icon has disappeared, we can then empty the recycle bin. And now that we know the driver is installed, we can leave the website and our downloads folder. And now we can connect the printer to the computer and hope for the best. Boom! So at first it looks like nothing's happened, but of course we need to give it something to do, or at least check to see if it's detected the printer. We can do this by again going to System Preferences and clicking on Printers and Scanners. Here you will see a list of printers that you have already got installed. As you can see here, I have several instances of the Dymo Label Writer 4XL and my main LaserJet printer. So let's add a new printer. And here you can see that despite my professional presentation, I have indeed forgotten to switch on the printer. It has a speaker, or at least a tweeter. So I wonder what it's telling me. Maybe it's telling me that there's no paper loaded into it. Let's press a button. By the way, you can see that it's now appeared on the screen connected by USB. I'm going to go ahead and assume it wants me to put paper into it. This was included in the package. So it comes with some fan folded thermal paper. In fact, let's remove that in case as it's unspooling from the tray it might knock that. So I don't know what to expect, if it'll pick it up automatically. Well, that's pretty cool. So it obviously went to detect the length of the sheet. Maybe that's how it knows which papers are loaded into it. Now, the first thing I've noticed is that the tray mechanism is set very wide at the moment. So it looks like it's able to take even wider sheets than it's currently got loaded into it, the ones that came with it. So I think what I'll do now before I progress is open it and close in the guide so that it's gripping the paper to prevent it from jamming. I think it's probably warning me that it's still switched on. Shouldn't open things whilst it's still switched on. Well, that's quite smooth. So on this printer it looks like the sheets must always be centered. So what I'm going to do is have a look at the back here. Maybe I can adjust it from the back. Yes, I can. There's two little lips here, which I'll show in a moment, which means I didn't really need to open the printer. As you can see here, these lips you can move by hand to make the adjustment. So let's make that wide. I know I've got two folded over there at the moment, but it's just to make it easier. Right, there you go. And you want to bring that in so it's not. Let's show you what that's like if it's too much. You see here? It's starting to curl up the paper. We don't want that. So let's bring that back up a little bit more. And it's pretty hard to tell on camera, but as I'm moving this, it actually feels like there's notches. It's still a smooth movement, but there's a mechanism that's definitely guiding me to be roughly there. Let's just try that again. That fits there nice and freely. Yeah, I don't feel any resistance there at all now, and there's only a slight wobble. It's certainly enough to make sure that the sheet is centered. Okay, so with that adjustment made, let's turn the printer back on, feed in the first sheet, and see if we can get a test print going. I just moved this closer slightly because the paper kept sort of fanning upwards like that, and I could see it just needed to be slightly closer. Okay, so with the printer power back on and everything set up, let's see if we can do a test print. Sorry, Scruff. Sorry, Scruff. Good boy. Let's first continue adding that printer. So you see it's been detected. Zing printer, MacBook Air, choose a driver. Auto select isn't here. Let's select software. And hopefully it'll be in this list. Ah, here it is. It's still coming up as Rollo printer, which is quite surprising. I'd have thought that they'd have updated the driver package to the correct name. I've heard of Rollo printer before, and if I remember rightly, I think it was a Kickstarter or a Indiegogo campaign to create this printer. Don't take my word for it, I'm not 100% certain, but it's something like that. Up until this point, I had no idea that Zing and Rollo were in any way related, and I'm assuming they are because the driver package says Rollo printer. Okay, let's click add. And we can see now Zing printer has been added to the list. So on a Mac, it's kind of weird on how to print the test page. We select the printer, open print queue, wait for the print queue to open, as you can see it's blank, and at the top here then, we go printer and print test page. Okay, well that didn't work. We followed the instructions. I looked at the instructions off camera and it was literally just install the driver and that's it. But let's double check just in case I'm wrong. Plug it all in, lovely, done that, it's fine. There we go, driver installation with the installing on a Mac. Go to the driver package file, follow the instructions, set the printing. There's 2 steps you need to do when printing the labels. Let's see if we can print something. So, I've downloaded a copyright-free Welsh flag, and here we go. So, let's go to print. I remember where print is on a Mac. Now we can see that the Zing printer is already selected. If it's not, we click here and select it first. Presets, default settings. We only want one, but if we wanted several of the same thing, obviously we can type in there how many we want. Paper size, other. This might not be correct on your screen. Hiya, Scruffy. Can't have you 2x. Don't go over there though. No. Come here. Off the top of my head, I don't know if 210 by 297 is the correct size. It's 4x6, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's 4x6. So let's select 4x6, and I think we need to click that for the orientation. Of course, depending on what you're printing, it might be a different arrangement of setups. You want different arrangement of setups. What am I saying? What am I saying? You may need to have a different label size if you're using smaller labels. Best way to check is what it says on the packaging for your label. I'm pretty sure these are 4x6 inches. Let's scale to fit. That's better. Fill entire paper. That'll show us how far to the edges it's prepared to go. Copies per page. Let's try it out. Huh. Nothing. What I did see is that the max print queue opened and closed again by itself. Let's try that again. Let's use the shortcut Command P. It's reverted back to original settings. I'm going to leave it on other in case it's detected it and maybe it's not happy that I've changed that setting. Let's change that to there, scale to fit, fill entire page, although there's a border there now. Oh, that is definitely wrong. What am I talking about? Yeah, the sheet is not that big. That sounds like an A4 sheet of paper. So why won't it print? It's definitely switched on. The computer has detected it. Let's see if that does any different. Presets, let's just have a quick look. Last 2 settings. Save and show presets in case there's some interesting presets. Let's try again, and this time we're going to look here. Ooh. Well, it moved. And now it looks like it stopped halfway through a sheet. It pushed out the first one and it stopped halfway through. No, buttons. Why should that be? Default setting. Let's go to last used just to see what I had there. 75 by 120. Let's try 4 by 5. Scale to fit. It's not 4 by 5. It's got to be 4 by 6. Yeah, that's definitely more like it. Maybe the first print gets ignored or something. Fill entire paper. Print. And now it says finish page 1. That's not cool. And look at this. Before I touch it, I'm going to show what's happening at the same time. There's several problems going on here. It's not printing, and I can see there's about to be a paper jam. And I'm going to show why. As it's unspooling, it's kinked just there in the sheet. So obviously I can fix that by just pushing that down. But that's not something that would happen with a regular printer that doesn't rely on one of these. And then again, you could simply use this and buy rolls of paper that would solve that problem. But right now, I want to find out why it's not printing anything. Okay, let's press the feed button, see if you can find the correct position for the next sheet. Why is it doing that? Why not go find the next one? Let's turn it off and back on again. Since we've installed the driver, it says printer is not connected, and it won't let me pull that. So let's release these clamps on the side here, which will free the paper. And pull it back out, close it down, turn it back on. No paper. Go on then, pick it up. Now it thinks there's paper there when there's not. Right, let's feed that back in. That looks successful. That's a bit annoying, but whatever. If you use a roll, it's not going to matter. It currently says the printer's not connected, when it clearly is. Does it need to be cycled to pull this out and back in again? Yes, that's annoying. But let's not judge it too harshly. Teething problems. Who knows, maybe I need to restart the Mac, but I shouldn't have to. It is only a printer driver. Let's try printing again. Command P, last use settings, 4x6, blah blah blah, scale to fit, fill entire page. That should be fine. Print. Printing. Finished page 1, nothing happening. Well, I am surprised. Okay, so I'm one step away from emailing the gentleman who sent this to me and asking what am I doing wrong. But first, what I'm going to try is installing the drivers from the CD. There's a chance that the driver on the website is outdated because it is saying Rollo printer everywhere. For example there, but it says Zing printer there. So there is a small chance that the included CD has the correct driver on it, and that I'm using perhaps a driver for an older printer by going directly to the website. Don't know. Let's try it and see if that helps. do I put the disc? It's under you. Excuse me. It does say Zing Pro on here, so maybe the Pro driver is different to the one that I'm using from the website. Took a while. It's come up as a CDR. Bless him. Okay, so cool. We see Mac and Windows. Let's go in here and see what file is in there. Is that different to what we saw earlier on? Do you know I've deleted the driver that I downloaded, haven't I? I'm going to go and check to see. So to be clear, the one on the left, or the ones on the left I should say, are on the disk, and this is what I downloaded from the website. So you can see here that it says Rollo printer for the DMG file that I downloaded from the internet, but the one on the disk says Zing printer Mac driver. At least the installation files have different names. Let's see if the file packages are indeed different. So here we can see the properties for the DMG file that we downloaded directly from the website, and here we can see the one that's on the disk, and we can see that the file size is indeed different for each of these two files, which means that they contain different information, which means that I've definitely installed the wrong driver for the printer. At this point I'm wondering if I should start with the video again or continue as is here, because honestly, if I'd have bought this printer with my own cash, I would have immediately ignored the CD and just gone straight to the website, as I've done here with you. What I would have done is exactly what you've seen here. I'm going to keep all of this in the video because I'm sure there are other customers like myself who would ignore the CD and go directly to the website. This also highlights quite a serious problem. The website does not give you a choice for what driver to download. Your only option is to use the disk. So some feedback for the developers would be to definitely keep the website up to date, or at least let me know definitely use the disk that's in the box. Nonetheless, it's important to include the correct drivers on the website because a lot of people do not have access to one of these. They're cheap enough, it's just an external disk drive. I'll include a link in the video description so you can get one for yourself. It's useful for situations like this, and you don't have to carry it around with you everywhere, only when you need it. We're going to do a couple of undoing steps, and then we're going to install the correct driver and change the settings so that the system uses the new driver rather than the one that we've installed already. So that's the one that we want, and that's the one that we don't want. Let's get rid of that again and install the driver package. We won't do this setting yet, we'll install the package first and then we'll change the settings in printers and scanners. So, Zing printer for Mac 1.0. All the default settings, enter your Mac OS X password, the password that you would use to log in. The password that you would use to log in. And now that we know in the background that driver is there. Remember earlier on we selected that driver from the list when installing the printer. There's two steps. You've got to put the driver in first, which hides in the background for the computer, and then tell the computer that we've indeed connected a printer that utilizes that driver. So I don't think there's a way to change it. I think what we'll do is just delete the printer from this list and add a new one again, and we just do that by selecting it and then pressing minus, and it'll confirm, am I sure? Yes. And now it's missing. And then we go add, make sure it's switched on, it's not plugged in though. We've installed the driver so I can safely disconnect this. Yeah, it's just, oh, if I do that now the tray will eject. Boom, cool. And now we can plug this in and it should appear in the list as it did before. Zing printer. Oh, it automatically added it. I didn't expect that to happen. So the first thing I've noticed is it says Zing printer up here and here now. So it might have automatically detected, because I've just installed the driver before plugging it in, and it automatically added the printer. And I'm now trying to decide if I just attempt to print with it as is, or if I manually then add the printer first, as we did the first time. I think what we'll do is come back to this if we need to. We'll try, because it might be just plug and play. You install the driver first, as easy as we've seen it, plug it in and print. So we'll try that. So as we've seen, let's just go here and print. Zing printer. Default settings. We do need to tell it it's a... Okay. Different sheet sizes here. 101.6 by 152. It's probably that then. And landscape, scale to fit the entire page. Here is the moment of truth, everyone. Is it gonna happen? Okay, that was loud and slow, but it was a picture graphic, so that will take time to send to the printer. There's also a large crack through the middle of the picture, which might have been simply to do with the fact that we were messing around with it earlier on and there was a lot of folding. We'll do another one just because. Last settings used, scale to fit the entire page, and I'm gonna do 5 in a row just so I can see how long it takes between each print, how long it takes to complete 5. We're also going to see if it takes longer to send that to the printer, like it took maybe 5 seconds just now. So will that be 25 seconds, or will it just be one job and tell the printer to repeat that 5 times? Let's have a look. Sending data to the printer. I'm surprised. No, don't play. I am surprised about that. Okay, well, it's slow, but this can be fixed by the company. It's not like the hardware isn't good, it's the software. The driver, as a matter of fact, the thing that we've been downloading. I don't know why they wouldn't simply repeat the image inside there, why it needs to be sent 5 times. So there's that to consider. The positive note is that that crack that we saw earlier on is no longer there. So that must have been just because we'd been messing around with it, and other than that, everything's good. I will say, let me just bring up my preview so we can see what. Yeah, you can't see that. So there's the crack there. So the other things I've noticed as well is that every now and then there are marks missing parts of the image. So I'll bring out my camera, and so it is going to be upside down at this point. So there's the first one with the crack in it, and now let's have a close look. So just in the wing here we can see that there's a white dot there, and that isn't present in the next image. That's the first thing to note. And what should be solid here, you can see you've got lines on there. There's another mark there which isn't present in the other ones. And here you can see a mark here as well. And there as well, which isn't present on the others. Okay, that one isn't so bad. In fact, I can't see anything wrong with that one. Other than the picture resolution, that should not be considered a problem with the printer then. You can see this pixelation here, and especially here. I don't think that's a problem with the printer. As a matter of fact, I'm certain it's not. The source image may in fact be low quality, but it's certainly not causing those lines. In fact, let's have a look at our source image again and check that in fact it is fine. So here's our source image. And you can see that there's a lot of pixelation on the outer edges. As I said, that's not the printer's fault, that's the quality of the source image. However, this solid green area is not solid on the images that it's created. So that's not the fault of the source image, that would be quality of the printer. Okay, so that's the first test done. Now let's give it a more practical test, which is going to be an actual postal label. Okay, well, I'm finding it hard to find a reliable picture from Google. I say reliable, I mean a high quality one. So what I've done is I've taken a postal label that I've addressed to myself, put it on this flash drive from my other computer, and here it is. So you can see here, this image is extremely sharp. Okay, pop it back in. Let's see what the quality is like on that. You only want one. It was making some weird clicking sounds then. Well, I mean, it's not terrible. So I'm looking at the small writing here. We can see that that's quite low. And when we compare that to what's on the screen, you can see that it is quite thin on the screen, but that at least is definitely a solid black line going down there. But there's a lot of dithering going on. And the QR code is quite clear. It's certainly good enough to not be misread. Okay, yeah, not too bad. The only thing is it is slow. So when you're clicking on print, it's taking a good solid long 5 seconds to make the first print. And that clicking sound we heard just now, let's try another one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was longer than that. I'm gonna time that again, just to see how long it takes from enter. So blah blah blah, fill entire paper, and I didn't hear the clicking. I was concentrating on how long. So let's have a look. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 seconds. Lots of clicking going on, but that might just be paper stuff going on. It shouldn't be catching on anything though. It should be smooth. There should be a smooth path for the paper to follow. Now let's just compare the quality really quickly. It's consistent. The only thing is, and I got to say it because it's true and I'm not trying to trash it at all, it's good enough and it'll probably be fine. Maybe I'm expecting a little bit too much from it because I've used high quality ones in the past and I'm just naturally making that comparison in my head. One of the things I want to point out is, do you remember earlier on when we were looking at the Welsh flag, we saw marks like this? That is roughly the same size as a pixel from the QR code. In fact, I'd say that that spans over the length of at least 2 of those QR pixels. Considering that this mark is random, those missing spots were appearing at random locations on the picture. So if those random spots happen to land somewhere inside the QR code, then there's a chance that that QR code may not be readable. But don't forget that you have this covered because all of these labels include the code that's required in plain writing. So it's not a total loss if the QR code isn't readable, but I have to point it out because it is a flaw. You know, maybe I've got a faulty one, I don't know, or it could be a build quality problem. So I'm not going to be too unfair. I'm going to get it to do a stress test. Why not? In fact, what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, Scruff, what I'm going to do is create a stress test for it. I'm going to create a solid black area and get it to print. So as you can see, I've told it that I want black all over the sheet. Let's see how well it gets on with that. It's a very simple job being sent to it. There's hardly any data there at all, but there's still this delay. Oh hey, that's not too bad. Oh yeah, I'm impressed. That is solid smooth. It looks like film. I have to be honest, I was expecting that to be terrible. I wanted to give it a stress test. I was expecting to see this shading problem here. It's orientation. You know these lines just going up and down here in what would have been the green area of this flag? I was expecting it to show on there, but it didn't, which is really positive. How many sheets have we got? Loads there. I nearly typed 100 then. Let's do 10 of those and see how well it cracks on with that. See if there's a consistency here. While it's doing that, I'm going to have another close look with my eyes here. I can't fault it. And it's really up to the edges as well. That's the other amazing thing. It's loud. It's loud. So I just want to show the edge coverage there. You can actually see almost. Scruff, stay still, boy. No. There you go. So you can see there, it's right up to the edge. And where it doesn't quite go up to the edge, which is fine, it's less than a millimeter. Oop, sorry. Is just at the end, but that is like negligible. I'm just showing how small that is. And there is a thin white line across there, which is thick at that section, and it seems to get smaller towards the end, but that might be just how it's being handled on. Oh, it does. That's what it's saying. Close enough, but I mean that's really cool. Right, so next test is to look at these sheets and see if they are all consistently as black as that. As far as I'm concerned, just to be clear, what this means is whatever those marks are that we saw on the Welsh flag earlier on might have just been teething problems. It's a brand new printer and maybe it needed to get started. So we will go back to the Welsh flags after looking at these and give it a fair assessment. Okay, so the third one has a tiny speck, hardly noticeable, smaller than a pixel from the QR codes. Take my word for it. And this one has a small mark on it as well. Very small, hardly anything. But everything else is perfect. Okay, starting to warm up a bit to it. It is loud. Let's do some Welsh flags. Squiff, don't mind you. Can we do some Welsh flags? He's such a cutie. 10 scale, fit entire page. I think that's what we had set earlier on. Everything else is good. 10 in a row. Go. Okay. The weird mark there, I will show that. So there's like a hairline thing going on there on the tail. It's not present there, but it is there. And there's another mark there. Where is it? Not present there. Let's have a look. That seems good. That seems right. That seems good. It's a very small problem. If it was everyone, then maybe that would be. No, it's all right. It's all right. No marks. The only thing to fail this on is those vertical lines on what should be a solid green area. Yeah, most of them are fine. Yeah. The reason I'm being so critical about its ability to print graphics is because the gentleman who sent this to me boasted about its high resolution, its 300 dpi resolution with a focus on graphics. So that's why I'm not just printing postal labels here. I wanted to print some graphics as well, especially for customers who want to have their company logo printed on to their postal labels. This can do that just like any other label printer, or most at least. But the thing that separates them between then is the quality of the dithering and how it generates that picture, how it converts this picture into code which prints onto the sheet of paper. Okay, well let's pick something else for it to print graphics wise. We've seen that it's quite capable of doing postal labels, but I wanted to do another image just to see. Okay, so here we've got a really good looking black and white test image with different shades and things like that to analyze. Let's give a quick shout out to whoever made this. Northern-Light Images.co.uk. And I think I saw it at the bottom here just now that his name was Keith. Here we go. Buy Keith a coffee. So if you found this video useful, go buy Keith a coffee at northernlight-images.co.uk. Test image for black and white printing. Okay, we're going to do 10 of these. Fill entire page, but does that crop it slightly? I think it does. Should we have it there or there? Well, we know it can do right up to the edge. We've seen that. Oh, but then 48 scale, where that's 50% scale. Let's do it, round it off to 50. We'll do that. go. I accidentally ripped the corner there. So here we can see the quality of the print isn't too bad, I suppose. Oh, squirty. So here you can see the quality of the image. Here's the text. I'm looking for this area here. So that's where the interesting dithering pattern is. That shows quite a good gradient there. Okay. Well, I think that is probably a good wrap up for this video. Overall, kind of impressed because it's a low cost printer, portable, fast, except for between each one. It prints out each single one quite quickly. And I know that that can be fixed in software. They don't need to upgrade any parts inside the printer to be able to fix this. In other words, they can fix that problem with repeated images with a driver update. They could just simply send you an email, we fix this, you download the file as you've seen here, you install it, and that'll improve the printer. So until they do that, I can't say I'm impressed with the speed of it. Because let's say you've got 100 postal labels to print off, you've filled up your tray with 100 plus labels. In fact, you could have a roll of 500 on there and let it get on with it. But it would take a long time to complete because there's this 7 to 8 second pause between each one. And frankly, that's unacceptable. It, you know, with USB standard, it doesn't take a long time to transfer an image over a USB cable from one device to the other. So, why is the question? Why has that not been resolved in product testing? You know, when you guys put this together and you look at it and you go, right, this is our first version, let's see how it is, and you click your first print, thumbs up, it works, and then you do 10, and then you immediately see that it's slow between each print. And I can imagine the design team looking at each other, would they go, it's fine, nobody's going to notice? No, I've noticed, and I'm sure many other people are going to notice as well, that there is a huge gap and a delay between each print. So that needs to be resolved. And it is just down to the printer driver how it handles the data between the computer and the printer. So they can easily fix that without you having to buy a new product. So if you are thinking about buying this, then you can safely get it anyway, knowing that if they do fix it, it'll be a huge speed improvement without you having to rebuy anything else. The other thing as well is it's little problems like that and the little gaps on the images that we saw now and again, little dots. It's problems like that that you shouldn't expect from anything with the word Pro in the title. So if you've made a Pro version of something you've already made, things like that really need to be ironed out before it hits the shelves. That being said, it is a budget printer, so if you're looking to save a few pennies, then yes, this is a pretty good deal. It works, it does the job. it's not going to have any functional problems. I'm just trying to criticize the printer so that you can see all of the worst possible things you could find with it, so you don't have any surprises yourself when you buy your own. Other than that, it does the job, and it does it fairly well. The only thing to complain about is the speed, and it's a little bit loud, but if you're in a busy working environment, you probably wouldn't notice anyway. Small home office, you might not want to have it in the living room while somebody's watching TV. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, please press the like button, and if you want to see the follow-up videos, because I'm going to be using this printer myself to do my own postal labels, and any problems I come across, I'll be letting you know. So make sure you subscribe to be able to see those videos, and hit the notification bell icon as well if you want to receive notifications on this channel. And any questions about the printer, any tests you think I should throw at it to, you know, if you've not seen anything that you want to see, let me know and I'll throw the test at it and see how well it gets on with it. So, thanks for watching, stay tuned for the next video and let me know what you think. Bye!